How's my hair? Welcome back, guys, to another episode of 5 for Friday, a series where every Friday I go over 5 games I recently picked up as I attempt to rebuild my video game collection 5 games at a time. I mainly focus on finding games I loved playing while growing up. However, every once in a while I come across some interesting games that are new to me which I like to share with you. And this week is a special episode for me as I find a personal grail. It's not a super expensive game, it's not a super collectible game, but it's the most nostalgic game to me, as it's the first video game I ever played. And interestingly enough, it was my mother who introduced me to this game way back in 1987. You're gonna wanna watch all the way to the end so you don't miss out on what I consider this to be a classic masterpiece. If you're new here and love watching video games that you may have never heard of, or just classic video games in general, then definitely consider subscribing so you don't miss an episode. For my return viewers, as always, thank you for watching, and please let me know in the comments which one was your favorite this week. Without any further delay, let's just jump right in. Starting off with something a little bit more recent. Definitely it was a new release last week, and typically I only go after new releases if it's something that's a remaster or a remake of something I played growing up. But I love turn-based RPGs, and when I heard about this game, I knew I was interested. The graphics look amazing. It was checking off all my personal boxes, and that, of course, is none other than Clair Obscur Expedition 33 on the PS5. If you're interested in watching me on Twitch, I'll link my channel in the comments section. I also recorded the prologue while I was on Twitch and uploaded it to YouTube, and I'll put a link to it right around somewhere here. I find it extremely poetic that I'm sharing with you guys my most recent pickup, a new release that came out last week, Clair Obscur Expedition 33, in the same video where I'm showing you guys my very first game I've ever played from 1987. Wasn't intentional, just happened to work out that way, and sometimes the universe is poetic like that. I've been following this game for a while, and I've been really interested in picking it up, while also trying to avoid any type of spoilers. I didn't have any idea what this game is about, outside of the number 33, of course. And I'll tell you, after capturing this footage and playing and putting in about a solid 3 to 4 hours, I am completely hooked. The story is even better than I thought. Turn-based battling system with parries and dodges is absolutely rewarding and rage-inducing at the same time. Admittedly, I was never the best at timing my parries, but this game is incredible. For those of you who don't know, in Clair Obscur Expedition 33, a mysterious figure known as the Paintress annually erases anyone above a certain age by painting a number on a monolith. That's pretty much the overarching lore of this entire game. Now, I won't get into any more specifics other than that. I don't want to spoil it for anybody else who's never played it. It's definitely worth picking up and playing for yourself and discovering for yourself, but it's fantastic. As part of the 33rd expedition, your mission is to end this cycle. This is a turn-based RPG that blends real-time combat mechanics with a rich, Belle Epoque-inspired world. With its emotionally charged narrative and innovative gameplay, it's a journey that challenges both your strategic mind and your heartstrings. The aesthetic in this game is phenomenal. You immerse yourself in a world inspired by France's Belle Epoque, where every scene literally is a visual masterpiece, and the line between art and reality blurs. Been really looking forward to this game. Couldn't be happier. Definitely give it a shot if you haven't heard of it. Continuing on with the RPG theme is Resonance of Fate on the Xbox 360. Another classic RPG game. For those of you who don't know, I'm a hardcore Sega fan. Grew up on Sega. I only recently got into the Nintendo world with the Switch coming out 8 years ago now. One of the many games I had while I was younger, and of course, for some reason or another, I ended up selling it, and I knew I wanted it back. I recently was going through some RPGs that I currently have in my collection, and it just popped in my head that I was like, wow, I forgot all about Resonance of Fate. And it's truly a game that I did enjoy when I was younger. I don't think it was ever super popular in mainstream, but this game to me was, I thought, fantastic.
Sega.
What if John Wick was a turn-based tactician with anime hair and a crippling nicotine addiction? That's right. We're talking about Resonance of Fate. Think of it as a Final Fantasy meets The Matrix with a sprinkle of XCOM's strategy and a dash of Devil May Cry swagger. I know, that's a lot to think about, but that kind of captures this game to me. It lives in a weird space between cult classic and fever dream. Now, with this game, there's definitely some unique gameplay mechanics. This is not a typical, although it is a turn-based RPG. Resonance of Fate uses technically what's called a tri-attack system with like hero action and gun juggling. There's no swords in this game, no magic. It's just straight up bullets, positioning, and style. Extra style with a bag of chips on the side. You're diving, flipping, and unloading clips mid-air like you're auditioning for a Zack Snyder film. And your weapons are super fully customizable with scopes, barrels, and enough mods to make Solid Snake jealous. Resonance of Fate takes place in a towering dystopia called Basel. The world's gone to hell, of course, and been rebuilt in layers, literally in layers. You play as a trio of mercenaries trying to survive. They take odd jobs, aka check the bulletin board, and uncover shady secrets involving Fate class warfare and some very suspicious priests. It's like if Blade Runner decided to moonlight as a JRPG. Trying to remember these mechanics from playing this game, I don't know how many years ago, I still could not master the tri-attack system. I'm terrible at it. It took me a solid 30 minutes. I even had my wife provide some constructive criticism.
They break too easy.
Can't mention RPGs in the Xbox 360 era without the push from Square Enix to really bring JRPGs into the Western market. You really can't forget to mention Infinite Undiscovery on the Xbox 360. Another classic game, another one, unfortunately, as I said earlier, was something I sold when I was younger. I picked this up as well as Resonance of Fate on Fleabay. I love giving you guys some comparisons between games that these games remind me of. So sometimes I go off the edge a little bit, off the deep end, I guess you would say. But I feel like some of these metaphors between different games that some of these games remind me of kind of helps better illustrate what these games feel like. I know you guys are watching and I'm playing. So sometimes I think it's difficult to really relay the message of what this game feels like. So that's why I overly use a lot of comparisons. And some of them I think are pretty spot on. Just like this game, Infinite Undiscovery. It's imagining if Star Ocean and Final Fantasy XII had a rebellious teen cousin who got kicked out of combat school for button mashing. It's like Tales of Vesperia if everyone had ADHD and no one used cooldowns. This is my personal life, by the way. Think real-time chaos meets high fantasy melodrama. Now, I typically love turn-based RPGs, but the unique gameplay, of course, for this game, it's all real-time battle. Now, I don't normally play these types of games, or I don't normally prefer, I should say, but this game was pretty cool. You control one character, and you can have commands for your team to follow. Either stay behind, stay put, use only magic, don't do anything, or just go all-out combo with you and attack everybody you're attacking. You can chain attacks, time special moves, and even use a mechanic called Connect Action to piggyback off your party members' skills like you're calling in magic Uber assists. Now, these Connect actions, even from my memory playing this years ago for the first time, was difficult in the sense you have to perform perfect button inputs, and sometimes you have an enemy chasing after you, or there's a lot of enemies coming closing in on you, and pressure, you mess up just like I do when I was playing this. Regarding the story, it's a pretty interesting story. You're Capel. You're basically a flute playing prisoner who is mistaken for a hero. He then joins a rebellion to free the moon from its celestial shackles, which I thought this was pretty cool. It's part Shakespearean drama, part anime nonsense, and all delivered with a straight face. We're about halfway through this video, and if you're still here, thanks for continuing to watch. Please consider giving me a little thumbs up like there. Really helps the channel grow, really helps me out, and also lets me know, hey, Neo, you're doing a great job here. 2 quick shameless plugs before we continue on to the 4th game in this week's 5 for Friday, and that is if you're not following me on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, please do. Please feel free. You get an insider's look onto the daily life of NeoStache. I put a lot of interesting content on there, stuff that I'm always like really into, what I really nerd out to. And I just launched for the first time ever an Instagram page. And I've never been in the Meta Planet before. And I have an Instagram. I'm going to put links to both of them down below. If you like nerding out about video games with a grown man from the 80s, then please check me out on my socials. All right, number 4 in this week's 5 for Friday is a game that one of my, dare I say, top 10 RPGs of all time. I may get some flame for this, but Legend of Dragoon was sick on the PS1. Back in the golden age of the PS1, where every RPG tried to dethrone Final Fantasy VII, along came The Legend of Dragoon, Sony's flashy, dragon-fueled answer to turn-based boredom, which, for me, I love turn-based. I never thought it was boring. I always thought it was interesting how a lot of games, including this game, Legend of Dragoon, tried to do something different to make the turn-based more, involved. With CGI cutscenes that melted faces, it's obviously for 1999, A complex tale of revenge, war, and reincarnation in a combat system that made your thumbs work overtime. This game earned a spot in the RPG Hall of, wait, why didn't this get a sequel? Seriously. It's bold, it's beautiful, and it's full of glorious melodrama. The combat system is super unique, where you have to press X with rhythm or get roasted with timely button inputs. You get mid-battle Sailor Moon style glow-ups with winged armor and elemental nukes. 7-disc energy on 4 discs. So this game is on 4 discs. So much plot, betrayal, and death, you'd swear it needed a 5th disc just for Dart's angst. Obviously, after playing Final Fantasy and beating it and spending probably hundreds, if not at least 1,000 hours on Final Fantasy VII, back in my younger days, always looking for my next high, I guess you would say. And so when this game came out back in the day, I definitely picked it up. Wasn't as good to me comparing it to Final Fantasy VII, which I hate to do. Hate to compare stuff to FF7. But this game is up there. This game is pretty good.
Yes! Double slash!
And finally, the moment you have all been waiting for. The game that I don't know why I didn't have this in my collection again. It's another one I sold. You already know the drill. I'm trying to rebuild the collection. But this is a game that I find near and dear to my heart. This was the game that got me into video games. My mother, by the way, loved video games when I was a kid. She would take me to the arcade all the time. I must have been 4 or 5 years old. And back then in the 80s, people were drinking, smoking. I mean, I grew up seeing it all. It was actually awesome. But I'm digressing again. So the game that I find near and dear to my heart, the first game I've ever played, goes way back into the Sega Master System. Oh yeah, I am that old. And that is, of course, you may have never even heard of this title before, but this is the OG Wonder Boy. Wonder Boy will forever have a place in my heart. And I don't mean that in a really corny way. I mean that in my personal life, this was the game that A, was the first one I ever played and got me into gaming in general, and B, was my mother's favorite game, and she introduced me to this game, obviously when I was a child. So before open worlds and crafting systems and 400-hour RPGs, there was Wonder Boy, a pure side-scrolling adrenaline shot, again from 1987, where you play as Tom Tom, a loincloth-wearing legend on a mission to rescue his girlfriend and not starve to death from a rapidly depleting hunger meter. It's fast, it's super frustrating, but rewarding, and it's got more stone axes than a caveman Home Depot. True story. Platforming was tight, the skateboarding segments were wild, and those giant snails, iconic nightmare fuel. Welcome to the prehistoric platforming perfection. I remember playing this game for hours. We'd have some snacks, tons of junk food, maybe some ice cream. I may have even been treated with some soda. Even though when I was younger, I wasn't allowed to drink soda because I was already hyper and it made me too hyper. Which a lot hasn't changed, honestly. It's very simple in terms of, just a button to jump and a button to throw an axe. But just the simplicity of this game made it such an awesome experience. I can still even hear the soundtrack from the game. It really brings me back. It's a really nostalgic game for me. One of my favorites, if not my all-time favorite, just because it's my first game and I'm definitely biased a little bit towards that. If you guys haven't played this game, you should definitely give it a shot. Recently, the Nintendo Switch came out with some Wonder Boy collection, which has this game in there. If you don't have the cartridge and the Sega Master System laying around, that's a great way to test it out. I'm sure there's other ways you can play it too. I haven't done the research on it, but for me, this was a personal Grail, and I'm so happy I was able to get this back in my collection in the box with the manual. All right, and that wraps it up for this week's 5 for Friday. I hope you guys loved this video. I love making these types of videos. If you liked it, leave me a thumbs up. If you loved it, consider subscribing. Either way, would love to also read some of your awesome comments in the section below. Keep it coming. I'll see you guys next week. Have an awesome weekend. Peace.